Okay, you may not be getting into the frequency through visualization, but you get yourself into a state.
I do. I 100% do. Yes,
I do the
that.
same
yes,
thing.
I do that.
And I would call that getting into your desired frequency. Your ritual is just a little different than mine.
My ritual is, it's kind of like a boxer going to the ring. You know what I mean? You're just kind of like loosening yourself up.
I get that way before I have to speak on stage.
Okay.
Give me 60 seconds. I'm warm. I can go forever. But that first 60 seconds, I'm like, I might actually die.
How many times have we shared the after picture without sharing how long the journey was? This is something that if you are willing to fall on your face, you can do it. The question is, are you willing to get back up? My name is Josh, and I'm your push coach. I'm the #1 best-selling author of F Leadership, and for the last 6 years, I've helped over 40,000 entrepreneurs to take ownership of their businesses and create tangible results that have changed their businesses and lives forever. Let's dive in.
Welcome back to Your Push Coach. My name is Josh. I'm your push coach. I'm so excited to hang with you guys today. I've got the first, what I'm calling celebrity interview of season 2. As many of you know from the last couple of episodes in season 2, we are going full blown with video that you can watch over on YouTube, over on Instagram TV. Obviously, you can still listen to the audio on iTunes or Spotify. If you are listening there on the go, just make sure you go check out the video over on YouTube where we're gonna have some behind the scenes stuff. These celebrity interviews are really cool because I'm traveling to these people's homes. So you're gonna see some behind the scenes stuff of me showing up at their house, going through their house, doing fun stuff. And if you're watching the video, you already know who my guest is if you're familiar with her. If you're listening, well, you gotta wait just a second. I have with me today my first celebrity interview that I'm so excited about because she's one of my best friends in the world. Before I give you her official...
That's the only reason he calls me a celebrity. I paid him.
She paid me in coffee, some freak rituals,
yes,
and a pool.
Yes, you're welcome.
And a pool. So I'm in Miami, if that gives you any hints, and obviously you've already heard her voice. But first, before I jump into her bio, I want to just give her some personal honor and cred.
Thanks, dude.
Because she is one of my best friends. She is one of the people, many of you know my story, that I went through a divorce. I don't know how many years it's been now. It's been 3 years, 4 years, whatever it is. That's awesome not to know
4
anymore, right? That's an awesome thing. And when that happened, she was one of my best friends that I constantly called when I needed encouragement, when I was struggling with guilt, with shame, with all the different human emotions that come with anything like that. She was the person that I called on, as well as her husband. I tell the story where her husband, Jeremy, was actually deployed, and he FaceTimed me from who the hell knows where, because he's not allowed. He has one of those special jobs where he literally can't tell you where he was or what he was doing, and he FaceTimed me one time, actually 2 times, but one time specifically, and I was just really down and out, really struggling with my confidence, and he was like, bro, you are motherfucking Josh Coates. You've helped people go top 10. You've done this. You've done that. Get your ass out there and be you. And for me, that was a real turning point to just be able to be okay, he's right. I got to stop looking at what I am struggling through right now. And I got to get back to what makes me me. And my personal situation has nothing to do with what makes me me. So
I love how all of my praise turned into praise for Jeremy. This is the story of my marriage.
Oh, no. Oh, no. Okay. Let me say this. Jeremy had 2 special moments with me.
He's amazing, blah, blah, blah.
Andrea was probably on the phone with me 5 times a week.
Yeah.
5 times a week. Still to this day, you're
I
the
have
person...
invoices for you floating out in the ether somewhere.
Still to this day, I text you. Well, I mean, we have kind of become unofficial success partners.
No, it was official. I sent you a, will you be my success partner? Yes, no, circle
check,
1.
yes or no. Okay, so it's official. It's official. I guess in my head, you're absolutely right. It is official.
You did that straight up.
I was trying to give you a little bit of a cop out to be able to be it's not official. I can break up with this guy if I need to.
I can break up with you anytime I want to. I reserve the right to change my mind about anything, anytime.
I love that.
In my life.
Jenny says that too. So Andrea has been one of my best friends. is my success partner, but I would also like go as far as saying like she is in many ways my coach. Like I pay mentors, but like when I'm struggling with a sales page, when I like need just like some fresh inspo, or I'm like, hey, Andrea, should I wear a white t-shirt with this today or a black t-shirt?
He asks himself, where can I get the fastest free help? Notice how he says, I do pay mentors, just not her.
That's fair. That's fair.
I have to ask myself if I'm struggling with receiving right now. Maybe
you are.
Maybe that needs
maybe
to
you are.
shift.
Okay, so but maybe it's a communication error over here, and maybe I just need to say, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Andrea motherfucking Crowder,
Yes.
who is a badass.
A new middle name.
She is
Here
a
for it.
career multi-million-dollar earner with her health and fitness business in network marketing. She's launched 3 different product-based brands, and she's created online courses, and she's also a human potential strategist.
Yes.
So, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here.
You're welcome.
Okay.
I do want to say that it is a mutually beneficial relationship. That's why I don't invoice you.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, because sometimes I wonder. So we're going to dig in. One of the things that I really want to do with these celebrity interviews is kind of like go behind the scenes. One thing I didn't mention was Andrea actually created an event called The Power of I Am.
Yep.
That she passed off to me. I was kind of like one of the guest speakers the first couple of years, and then she, in the middle of launching 3 different product-based brands and managing her other business while a husband was deployed.
Yep.
That's a lot, right?
It was a lot.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
So she passed the event off to me. I took it over, and in this last year, kind of the theme of it was like, let's show the raw and gritty.
Yep.
Let's show the behind the scenes, like, none of us like the word celebrity. So the second I told Andrea it was a celebrity interview, she's like, oh, I'm not a celebrity, but you are someone that people look up to. And for me, like, I've kind of taken responsibility for taking the people that we all look up to and kind of like tearing down that stage that we put them on.
Yeah.
Because that, like, we give unfair expectations to ourselves when we do that, right? Like, when I put you on a podium in a platform, what I'm usually doing is not lifting you up as much as I'm putting myself down. Like, I'm creating separation versus saying, okay, this person has gone somewhere I want to go. Like, I just want to learn from that. So
Right.
I want to go to some of the dark places with you.
You can go anywhere you want to. I'm an open book, and I think one of my favorite things to do is to create less separation between anyone, no matter what phase of life you're in. So
I love it.
I'm here for it.
Let's go then.
Let's go.
First thing I want to dig into that not everyone knows about you. Some people, maybe they follow you closely, do. Like, take me back to teenage years. Tell me the stories of like who Andrea became, because statistically speaking, we should not be sitting in this beautiful, amazing home in Miami. Statistically speaking, you should be somewhere else, right?
Statistically, I should be broke, divorced, probably on welfare as well. And, your introduction said something quite different. But
Yeah.
I grew up with parents who, got married and divorced frequently. And my environment changed a tremendous amount. I have memories of, waking up in the middle of the night and having to pee as a kid, and having to wake my dad up to take me outside where he had dug a hole in the ground and built a box and put a toilet seat on top of it. And this is in Seattle. So we didn't have running water. There was no flushing toilets in the middle of the night, which is very vulnerable and scary as a little kid. And then I have, memories of my dad teaching me so many valuable lessons that now have contributed towards me making millions of dollars and building successful companies, especially my product-based companies, because those take quite a bit more strategy.
Right.
So I couldn't be more thankful for my parents and for all of the struggle that we experienced growing up. My dad was in the military. My mom was an accountant and did that for as long as I can remember. And then around the time that my daughter was born, my mom ended up really struggling with a lot of compacted trauma and becoming addicted to a variety of different pain medications and going through intense addiction. So I didn't really have that mother mentor,
Yeah.
as I was bringing babies into the world. A part of my story is that I did have a teenage pregnancy. I was 19 when I gave birth to my son, and my husband and I got married at age 20. We've been married for 17 years. But just previous to me actually at the time that I got pregnant with my son, I was an exotic dancer, and that's how I made my money. So that was I learned so much about sales through that. I did not know what I was preparing myself for, but I also didn't feel any guilt or shame around it. I really felt like I had so much fun.
Yeah.
I loved the hustle of it. I learned about energy and manifestation before I could have articulated it using those words. I learned about how the energy of desperation repels money. The energy of not needing it attracts more. And I learned how to I learned the art of being charismatic and having conversations with people to find out what it was that they really, really wanted and getting them to pull out their wallet and hand me money.
Wow. That's so I love that you said there was no guilt or shame.
I'm lucky that I
love that.
could say that.
Yeah. I think that's really rare. I mean, I met someone at an event that I was speaking at, and she pulled me aside and was like, "Hey, I'm trying to make this hustle work because I'm an exotic dancer, and that's how I take care of my babies." And I had to look her in the eye and just be like, "Hey, first of all, can I just say, I don't give a fuck. You're an amazing human taking care of your kids. If that's what you do to pay the bills, first of all, I'm proud of you if you don't want to be doing that to build this other thing that gives your babies a different life. But at the same time, don't think that makes you less than the other people in this room. We're all fucked up. That A, that doesn't equal fucked up, but B, society says it does.
It depends on how you grew up.
If we're going to go that way, let's just talk about how fucked up we all are. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There isn't someone that's and I think we all do that, don't we?
I was so prepared for what rejection feels like in business through that experience that I had such thick skin that even though I am an introvert, which is shocking because I've been naked on stages before. But at the time, there was a warm up. I went in there and I got a job as a server and I just handed out drinks, and I learned that if you can convince a guy to buy you a drink, you could sit down, number one, and get off your feet for 3 songs, and that they had to pay extra. So you wouldn't just earn your tip, but you would earn an extra $10, and that cash would go right into your pocket. And so the entire night, I was focused way less on actually delivering drinks and more on getting drinks to be purchased for me. And as soon as I started learning how to figure that system out, I was like, well, these girls look like they're making way more money because they're pulling up to the club in Mercedes-Benz and really, really crushing it. But I didn't walk right in there with the guts to say I want to get on that stage and take my clothes off. There's a slow warm up.
As I'm sure starting your own business, there's a slow warm up. So
network marketing was a slow warm up.
So take me through that because the thing that I find is obviously we both work with mindset kind of stuff in the coaching that we do. That's where it all starts, right? It's all up here, everything you're struggling to do out here.
Here and here.
Yes, exactly. So walk me through what are some of the hardest parts of the first couple of years of building a business, and kind of how did you work through those things?
Well, I had never even heard of personal development until I had gotten into business. I didn't know that there was a section in the library where you could go learn personal growth. So that was a major turning point for my life. I became such a different person, a better mother, a better wife, because I through network marketing, that was, if you want to achieve success, then here are your 4 steps. So I followed those 4 steps pretty religiously. And I had a really strong motive. So starting with no matter how hard it got, I didn't have an option B. There wasn't one. And I was working really long hours in the corporate world as a corporate event planner and the executive assistant to the president of our company, and hustling to not make that much money. And I realized that if I ever wanted to be able to take my kids on vacation,
Yeah.
and have different experiences. And as a military wife, I was missing, my nieces and nephews being born because we couldn't
Right.
afford the plane ticket.
Right.
I missed my grandfather's funeral
Yeah.
because we couldn't afford the plane ticket. So to never have to say no to the things that at least were the most important to me
Right,
was
right.
a huge motive. And if there's one thing about me, I'm a motherfucking pit bull. As soon as I bite down, I will not let go until I get what I want. It doesn't matter what I have
Yeah.
to overcome. I will.
Right.
But I had to learn that I don't have to walk through a storm to get there. And I did that at first.
Yeah.
I picked all the hardest ways to become successful in the beginning through just what we were taught, which is hard work is the secret to success. So it didn't matter how painful
Yeah.
and excruciating and how much I was burnt out and how little sleep that I was getting.
Yeah.
I didn't know the law of leverage back then. And that
Yeah.
would have been a nice law to learn right at the start.
So let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the law of leverage. I know you want to dive into that shit.
Yeah. Anytime now, I'm always like, what's the easiest and fastest way? And the way that I'm going to have the most fun, because whenever you're having fun, it happens
Yeah.
to go faster.
Yeah.
I always say fun equals fast cash. So, I think like if I could learn a way to create a hack for my mindset, to create a hack for my body and the resistance that I'm feeling, and leverage anything that is already existing in my life to get to where I want to go, not just faster, because I don't think everything needs to always be about speed,
Yeah.
but with more pleasure and more fulfillment.
Yeah.
So that looks like me learning about energetics and
Yeah.
the law of attraction. And
Right.
that looks like me looking where I'm already resourced, whether it's through something that I already know from a perspective of knowledge, or where I might have more resources than I thought. When I was buying my very first ticket to my first personal development event, I looked for resources in our pantry, and that looked like if I don't grocery shop for the next 4 weeks and I just eat whatever it is that we have,
Yeah.
no matter how weird it sounds,
Right.
then I already do have the money.
Yeah.
I'm already resourced.
Right.
So looking for where I'm already resourced in
love
my
that.
current life instead of spending a lot of time
Right.
and focus on where I'm not.
I dig that. I love that so much. Talking about these hacks, what are 2 of your favorite hacks?
Oh, shit. My very, very first favorite hack is I call it getting into the frequency, shift the frequency, do the thing.
Okay.
So this is my ritual. And it looks like no matter what action or behavior I need to take, I have made the decision that I want it to feel really good, whatever good means to me in that moment, whether
Yeah.
I want to feel creative or happy or joyful or efficient or whatever it is. So I get into a visualization state to get myself emotionally to the point where I already exist with having done this thing extremely successfully. So
Right.
my visualization this morning was me just focusing on what would it feel like if I already ran a $10 million brand.
Yeah.
And then I ask myself for advice.
I love
I'll
that.
ask the
Yeah.
$10 million owner
Yeah.
through visualization, like, who do I call today?
Mm-hmm.
Who do I need to ask a question to that might have the next step for
Yeah.
me that I just don't know how to take? Or another example of this would look like I don't love to write. I know you do.
Yes, I do.
So I will get myself into the energy as if I were like Carrie Bradshaw
Okay.
from Sex and the City. And I would visualize me feeling really like, number one, very clever with words.
Yeah.
Number two, very compelling.
Right.
And imagine, just simply through imagination, what that would feel like. And then I would go write. And then it's like I'm channeling the fucking divine. Shit just comes out.
I love that.
So, but I love using this in my personal life as well because it is the hack to a more fulfilling even marriage.
Yeah.
If you spend just a few minutes getting yourself into the state of
Right.
strong communication skills and compassion and understanding and awareness and whatever it is that you need in the moment to prepare yourself, even just for a few minutes,
Yeah.
will dramatically change any experience that you'll ever have.
I love that. I love all of that so much. I channel my inner Andrea sometimes when I'm writing a sales page. I'm like, okay, channel Andrea, because in general, I'm a writer. The reason I love email so much is because it's like super spontaneous. Like don't think about it,
No
like
strategy.
Yeah, like we talked about earlier. For me, it's like I thrive in that energy that I used to use to play sports, that I used to use to play music. Before I'd go out on stage, I would put in. There's a band called Anne Berlin. Had the guitar player on a podcast in season 1, which was the greatest moment ever. Had my 15-year-old kid come on and ask a couple of questions. He loved that. But basically, I saw them live for the first time at like 22. And they come out, and the lead singer, Stephen Christian, is just like oozing energy. And the sound of the band kind of has that sound anyways. But he just comes out and took over the stage. And I mean, he's just running around, throwing his mic, and I was just like, what is happening right now? Like, I can feel something that like I've never felt in my entire life, and I swear I captured it like in that moment. And every time we would play, I would put their music on, and I would go back to that moment, and then I would run out on stage and basically be Stephen Christian.
Yeah.
And then when I started speaking, I just did the same thing. I was just like, I'm just taking that Stephen Christian energy with me like everywhere I go. So it's like I channel what it is I want to like feel like, because I just remember sitting there and being like, anyone who just felt what they did is buying their album, is buying their t-shirt, and is going to follow them everywhere they go, which I did, right? So it's just like, that's what I want people to feel. When you listen to me talk, I want you to just be like, what the fuck just happened?
I'll have what he's having.
What was that?
Yeah.
So I love that. I love that. So that was hack number 1.
I think that's the one that I use the most every day. But the second, I don't know if this is necessarily a hack, but I start always from the end.
Yeah.
I always say last things first.
Right.
And that was something that my dad taught me from his military career. But I do this a little bit differently. And that's when I create for business, I start from the end and ask, what is the experience that I want my customer to feel? And I start with the feeling, and then I build everything backward from there. I want to know what she's feeling right now, and then what I want her to feel by the time she's done engaging with me, whether it's through free content or whether it's through actual purchase.
I love that.
When you focus on that feeling first, you read your content, you experience your product through such a different lens, because in 2021, it's not enough to have a good product.
Agreed.
It needs to be experiential.
Yeah.
You do need to elevate the experience for people, because people are so desensitized from having technology all over the place, and like there's always a new better thing. So if you're really not thinking about what it is that you do every day from an experiential level and what feeling it is that you're offering or you're trying to evoke from someone, you're just making it harder for yourself.
I love that so much. Okay.
And people will follow the fuck out of you if you give them a great feeling.
I mean, that's what I had at that Anne Berlin concert, right? Like all of the other bands were really good, and actually the band that played before them was the band I was there to see.
Oh, interesting.
And this Anne Berlin, I'd heard people talk about them, and like in my head, I was kind of like, oh, they're, you know what I mean? Like everyone else loves them. I'm here to see June.
Right.
June came out and played, but there was no experience, and I was like let down. I was just like, what just happened?
You can tell who's like channeling their like true essence in their work, whether it's in business, music,
and then Anne
art.
Berlin came out, and I was just like, I mean, literally in the first 5 seconds, I was just like, and so I tried to duplicate that with our shows. Like I would try to jump off of something in the first like 15 seconds of the show. So like my boss came to our show one time, and afterwards he was telling me about, he's like, I brought my kid with me. And he was like, he was like not excited about it. The opening band, he was just like, this is going to be so boring. He said, and then on that very first song, you jumped off that 3-foot box, and his eyes shot straight up. He said, you had him sold the rest of the show because he just was so entertained.
But let me just say that the secret wasn't you jumping off the box just because the other dude jumped off the box. The secret was that you really fucking felt your own you believed in yourself.
Yeah,
And
right.
that's like the contagious thing that people
Right.
want more of.
Yeah, so it's not necessarily copying someone else's energy.
Yeah.
It's the reason I copied it was because of how much I loved feeling
Exactly.
that. And that's how I wanted everyone else to feel.
Yeah.
So I love that you threw that out there, because the reality is I can't copy Andrea, even though I channel my inner Andrea for certain little things that I want or need to do, because in that moment I'm like, okay, this is one of those things where like that's what I want it to look and feel like. But like my speaking and your speaking, totally different.
A million times different.
Totally different.
The first course that I ever created actually was born from the frustration of my DMs being filled with what's your secret for, and then fill in the blank.
Yeah.
And everybody always thought that like the strategy was the thing.
Yeah.
And so I created a course at the time that I didn't even name. I just called it a 7-day experience, and you can just be in my energetic container for 7 days, and I'll show you all of my strategy for creation.
Dig.
And I didn't name the course. I didn't make a sales page. I didn't do a photo shoot. I didn't even have a payment page. I wrote out terms and conditions on a note on my phone. I screenshotted it, and I sent it to people in a DM, and I gave them
Love
my PayPal
that.
link.
Yeah.
Because what I wanted to do was wipe away this facade that the secret was in the strategy.
Right, right.
And the truth is that you can duplicate my exact strategy, but you may not get the same result. And that's what I learned from network marketing that really frustrated me. Was I took it personally when the people that I brought on in business didn't succeed. And my question, instead of me focusing on the fact like, well, I'm just not a good leader, and like really trying to label the situation, I started asking better questions. And that was, what is it about how I create?
Yeah.
What is it about how I approach this?
Right.
And you know, there's great books on there about like how successful people think. And what I really did was, through the entire course, was I taught people about what question I would ask. The entire course is essentially, there are some like rituals in there that you'll learn. Very little strategy though. If people would ask a question and ask, you know, what do you use to build your website, or what email system do you use? Most of the time I wouldn't even answer questions like that. And I would ask, I would answer a question with a question, and I would say, where's the path of least resistance for you? Because the biggest thing in your way between what you want is the resistance that you feel inside of yourself. So that's actually that's number 2 hack.
I love that.
Is where's the resistance, and how can I not overcome myself, but how can I just fucking go around it?
And I love I mean, like, questions like are just the most important thing in the world, right? Like questions,
they unlock everything.
Questions to yourself versus, I always tell my clients, like, stop asking things like, what was the exact thing you did? And instead ask something like, what was the motivation behind that? Like, what was the thing you were going for? Because there isn't one exact strategy that I'm using that is perfect for you, and vice versa. It's just like, you know, I teach people on ads a lot, and I try to be careful, like, when I'm just talking about them in general, to be like, now that's not me saying that if you spend this much on ads, you'll make this much back. That's me saying I was sitting somewhere looking for my way to scale. And I heard someone say that from stage, and it just hit me so hard in the soul. Like, I was literally, in me was like, I have to go learn that. I have to.
I think the question that I like to ask is not how, or I teach my students to ask, and I ask this of myself, but not how can I do that, but how can I be that? Because when you put yourself into the energy of already being it, you already know the answer. You don't actually need anybody to answer that. And you'll know the answer that you'll fucking take action on.
I dig that. We have a couple things specifically that you've created that I love and I want to talk about today. First one, we kind of got on display over here if you're watching the video. We've got some cool shit over here. Does this not look sexy? I hope that you right now, if you're watching this video version, I hope that you like mirrored this to your TV and you're watching on the TV. Because first of all, you'll see how beautiful it is back here behind us, this beautiful lake back here. You probably can't see the water, but I'm sure you can see how beautiful and green it is. Jeremy was telling me that this.
Back to Jeremy.
I'm so sorry.
Just kidding.
He was telling me this blue stuff is called a sky. We don't have those in Oklahoma.
You don't see that much.
But in Florida, they have these things called blue skies. You can kind of see that through the windows. But we also have this beautiful display set up. Can you tell me a little bit about these?
Yes. So Freak Rituals is my most recent product-based brand, and we created frequency-infused modern manifestation products. They're tools to support you in taking yourself from a place of understanding conceptually like how to manifest to actually feeling and experiencing it, embodying it. It is extremely experiential because of the infusion that we put in. So 2 of our products help you get into a theta brainwave state so you can get into faster meditation and visualization. And our manifestation steps are see it, speak it, know it, have it. The first one being see it. If you can visualize it, then the mind starts to become familiar with it. The entire purpose of it is to familiarize yourself with what it would look like so that you can teach your body what it will feel like. And the reason that people are so afraid of rejection is because they're afraid of the feeling and the assigned meaning around it.
Right.
The reason that people are afraid to, invest into a business that might require some upfront capital is because they have this learned feeling of fear inside of their body of what it feels like to lose. And so you actually have to overcome that by familiarizing your body with the experience first, and then your body doesn't get in your way. Right. So while it is sold as like really fun and it's all about manifestation, she really is beauty and brains. There's a lot of psychology, there's a lot of science behind every single element of the bottle, from the label being more linen, and so the texture of it feels more elevated and feels a little bit more luxurious, to the different steps that you'll read on the front, as well as the affirmation being an I am affirmation. So it's teaching people who don't already know to speak differently about themselves, to the guided visualization that comes as a download with every product that starts to really get people from, I call this concept from being in your body to embodied. And the difference between being able to make money sometimes and being able to make money all of the time, and the theme for this, or the name of the collection is She Makes Bank, so it's all focused on money, which is why I'm using that as an example. But a lot of people, especially entrepreneurs, are frustrated because they can make money, but it's not consistent money a lot of times, or they can make a lot of money, but they can't keep a lot of money. So they're really struggling with being able to hold money, because that's a completely different frequency. It's a different, different feeling in your body to experience that. So it's teaching people to not just be able to have it sometimes, which is in your body, when you feel that feeling where you're on stage and it's like, okay, yeah, fuck yeah, I'm going to do this. But if you can't embody that all the time, that's why you're only making money some of the time. So these products are about calming the central nervous system down so that you feel that shit on the regular basis. And it's not just something that you feel, it becomes who you are.
I love it. And if you're watching the video version, Andrea's going to have me use some of these products a little bit later. We're going to video it, and we're going to have some of that like in the bonuses. We might end up doing like a full bonus video for this session, because like we're going to have like a little bit of a house tour. We got some video of me and Jeremy cuddling, bringing it back to Jeremy. me and Jeremy, we're very much in love. So we did some cuddling on the couch the other day. We got Andrea swinging at the coffee shop. We went to this really rad place. It's like
Pack Pastries. Shout out to Shelby. If you're in Fort Lauderdale, you have to go to Pack Pastries. It's the best gluten-free and vegan pastries that you can find.
Like
their empanadas are so bomb.
I can't have dessert basically because I can't do gluten or dairy for like the last 6 months now, and it's like go to the coffee shop and there's always like this awesome bakery, and I'm like, is there anything that's gluten-free and dairy-free? And they're like, well, we have these 7 things that are gluten-free and these 8 things that are vegan.
Yeah.
So
Never
is there
both.
anything
Yeah.
that's good? Well, no, there's not. But if you're okay with only like half of your skin breaking out, you can have like this thing or that thing. So yeah, we went there. It was beautiful. They have like this pink swing just like hanging from like the inside, so you can like swing. That was fun.
It's very experiential. I
It
love
is.
it.
It is.
You can go up and use like the little letters that are normally like fridge magnets, and you can leave your Instagram handle on the wall.
Oh, that's
and
cool.
You can swing.
Shit,
and
I missed it.
Yeah, the rose patata latte is such a fucking delight if you want something a little bit different.
We are not sponsored by them, by the way.
No,
it was
I
just
love
really
them
that
so
fucking
much.
good. So I want to just like show if hopefully we can get this. It is FREQ, freak,
Freak, not freck.
not freck.
That was shocking to me that people
the-
pronounced frequency infused
What the freck is this?
anything.
So yes, it's frequency infused. So it's FREQ,
Yeah.
freak.
Right.
Beautiful. I think that like you guys did. Andrea does a killer job on all branding, everything she touches.
So for me, the reason that I really wanted to create this product line was because I know that our results are found in our rituals.
Mm-hmm.
Except for a lot of the rituals that I really wanted to do, if I was going to use a product, aside from maybe like a crystal, which is very beautiful,
Mm-hmm.
most of those things I would keep in a drawer because they didn't come very pretty. They didn't
Yeah.
match my modern lifestyle.
Right.
A lot of them are, they have like the cosmos all over them and they're very colorful and I'm very neutral. Like the
Right.
fact that I'm wearing a floral print today is completely shocking.
Yeah. She did it. She did it for me.
I did. Yeah. We had a match. But I couldn't find any products that I wanted to leave on the counter. And I know that if something isn't muscle memory for
Yeah,
me yet,
yeah.
if it's not a part of a natural part of my discipline already, it needs to stay in my face. Out of sight, out of mind. I fucking forget about it.
Agreed. Yeah.
So for me, like I was like, well, I want some products that I want to be able to put on my bedside.
Right.
And I keep my bedside like it's pretty. I wake up and the first thing I want to see is
Yeah.
I'm a Virgo. Like I need things to be organized, aesthetic, and that makes me, except for my husband would argue if you looked in my closet, that would be
Closets don't count.
It's not the same.
That doesn't count.
But if I'm going to see it every day, I need to work in a really aesthetic environment. I'm Virgo Libra. And so that's so crucial to me. I couldn't find anything that I wanted to keep in my space. So then it would go into a drawer and then it would get forgotten.
Right.
And I know that there's so many people like me who they're not really into all of those, like the traditional spiritual look.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, I really want to create something that's very chic,
Yeah.
black, it's moody. In fact, we really disrupted the spiritual space because everything is all about being like white and
Yeah.
light and airy and pinks. You won't fucking find pink in our brand. I'm telling you that for sure. It is moody as fuck. It is bold. It is cool. It's cheeky. Like obviously our name being Freak, it was
Yeah.
meant to be a little bit silly and just not even silly, but more like undertoned sarcasm.
Yeah, like a little tongue in cheek.
Yeah. So we want the brand to feel like that effortlessly like cool best friend where when she walks in, everybody's like, I'll have what she's having.
Yes. It actually like you literally just described yourself.
Oh, thank you.
Like your brand is literally you.
And then it smells super bomb.
Literally for all of my Parks and Rec fans out there. Yeah, it smells amazing.
How
I
good
love
is
it.
that?
It's beautiful. So these are beautiful. They can get these. Where can they check these out?
Freakrituals.com, or you can find us on Instagram as well.
Yeah.
FREQ Rituals.
And I'm sure if they just come to Andrea Crowder on
Yeah,
Instagram.
you can find me Andrea Crowder
Yeah,
as well.
Instagram's going to have
Totally.
all of her links, which is going to be awesome. Okay, I want to talk about how you help people launch.
Great.
Launches are huge, regardless of what industry you're in, regardless of what kind of business you're building. Every time there's a new product, there's this really stressful thing called a launch. And depending on who you are and where you're from, like if you're network marketing, sometimes a lot of the stuff is created for you, but you still got to find a way to make it your own. There's still a lot of pressure on how to promote it with your branding, your language and energy versus what the company created, which is, regardless of how much you love your company, is sometimes real cheesy. Right? It's not always your branding, right? If you are a course creator like we are, then it's like, for me, it's like, got to create the opt-in, got to create the sales page, there's just so much masculine energy. And I
Right.
know that you are really, really big into tuning into that feminine energy. So like maybe just walk me through like some of the things that you specifically do when it comes to helping people launch.
Okay, so I'm all about how can I move the most amount of where's the resistance between me and what I want, and how can I find a different way to do it where I don't have resistance? Not how can I remove the resistance, but how can I, again, go around?
Right.
And to me, that's always like whatever the path of least resistance is. So I start with the question, how can I do this differently? So that's question number one. And I do approach things from a more feminine perspective because that's where all of our creativity lies.
Yeah.
And if you want to be persuasive, if you want your copy to be really compelling, if you want to be charismatic on video, you need to be in some form of an energy of creation, and you need to be fucking pumped about what it is that you're selling. I used to always say excitement and enthusiasm trump skill, because it's enough to get you started. In fact, I would even dare to say that you can get to a multiple six figures in your income without having the systems.
Yeah.
I know that's true because I
agree.
did it.
I agree.
I'm not saying that it should stay that way. I think there should eventually be a balance, and you should bring the systems in. That's absolutely crucial to scale sustainably without killing yourself. But enough to get started, I really think people need to stay in that feminine energy of excitement, passion, creation. So like, where's the fun?
Right.
So the question is like, what am I launching? And I would even dare say you're launching every day.
Yeah.
Like people say, well, you're waiting for a new product. I think that you're launching every single day, especially if you're a network marketer, because you have monthly metrics that you're trying to achieve for most companies. So I would look at how can I keep myself interested, especially if the product is staying the same for a little bit of time, by telling a new story. So marketers would call this just creating a new campaign, but network marketers don't approach it like that because they're really focused on following the duplication system that everybody gives them. Put your entrepreneur hat on for a little bit and ask yourself, if I were Dove, for example, and I'm still selling soap, how am I gonna number one, how am I going to still be excited to create this really beautiful, compelling story and a campaign that I'm excited to create? Because part of the reason that we do this isn't just because we want to get to the end and have this amazing experience of achieving the goal, but you want it. I always say I like business to feel like sex. It feels amazing all the way through. And yes, there's definitely a climax at the end, right?
Yeah.
So I am actually really... I'm kind of obnoxious about always choosing ways to create my business from that energy, because it's not for me just about having the money and the satisfaction and feeling good at the end. Like I really want the entire process to be pleasurable.
Yes.
Because otherwise, there goes your whole life.
Yeah, exactly. And this is something I had my clients do just recently. I was like, okay, we're going to start off the year by, even for those of you that missed your 2020 goals, okay, we're going to start off by writing down everything we did achieve, everything we are proud of. Because if you lose that excitement, like, why are we even here? And if the only reason we're here, and if you follow me closely, I'm huge on setting new goals. Like, puke goals is my thing. Like, hashtag let's puke together. However, that's only one side of it. Like, one side is have the next thing that you're reaching for, but then there's this other side that creates harmony that without it, like, you're screwed. And that other thing is I need to know why I started. I didn't start to make multi-millions. I started because, again, like that Anne Boleyn show, I felt this feeling, and that's how, when I found personal growth, that is what it felt like. When I found personal growth, it felt like that Anne Boleyn show.
You wanted a feeling.
Yes, exactly.
That is actually why we get into business.
Yeah.
We wanted a feeling. Most people would say, because I've interviewed thousands of people over the last decade, most people would say, I want freedom. And for me, that has been what my entire brand has been about, because I didn't have the freedom to go get on the airplanes and take my kids, on a vacation or whatever. And so I asked myself last year, what does freedom really mean to me? And I got very, very granular about defining this feeling that I was seeking on a regular basis. And I wrote out the word freedom in big, huge letters, and the letters started kind of sticking out to me a little bit. And I had a call with one of our mutual mentors, Brian, and he was talking about creating frameworks for your different courses. And I remembered what he said about using the letters to create the framework. And I said, well, if I want to create a framework for how people can actually take steps, a real system and process to really truly achieve freedom, what would that look like? Otherwise, it's too abstract and people are like, I want that. And they think that the path to get there is money. It's always money equals freedom. And I asked myself, is that true? And the truth is no. So as I broke it down, I started giving the letters different, I gave it a framework. And so F is for fulfillment, and fulfillment is first. If I don't feel fulfilled during the process, then I'm not free. R is for relationships. This is personal relationships and professional relationships as well, because we all know that if we have a fight with our significant other before we go try to do an online webinar, it's gonna suffer a little. It's fucking challenging.
Sometimes that's a whole year of rough.
Yeah, sometimes more. Yeah, yeah. So, and if you're not driving, write this down, please. My entire mastermind is built off of this. It became 9 months so that we could create embodiment for my customers. E is for expression. This is how the world perceives you, but in a way that is really, truly you, where you don't have to become something fake in order to achieve. It's only taking what already exists and amplifying it. That doesn't mean you don't show up the best version of yourself.
Correct.
When you're on stage, you're not that charismatic when you and I are having a normal conversation. You're just a more amplified version of yourself, but nowhere is that a fake version of you. You're not putting on a facade. So E is about expression. And this will really start to play a role in how your brand starts to become developed, your brand values and how people perceive you through all of your different brand assets. And then the second E is for energy. I'm huge on not just your physical energy, your mental energy, your spiritual energy. This is all about all four of your bodies, your emotions, your physics, all of those things are contributing. And then D is direction. This is all about your internal intuition and how you want that experience to look like and where you want it to go. And a lot of people, especially if you're in network marketing or in online business, we're told what that direction should look like. It should be when you hit your first 10K month, you fucking made it. And we both have laughed at how long that lasts. And then you're on to the next. Or as a network marketer, it's your rank. Here's your direction. Here, I think that framework is nice because it gives people something to, it gives people a ladder to climb because people seek growth. But it's really important to put your hand on your motherfucking heart and ask yourself, what do I want? Where do I want to go and why? So that you really can keep the fuel inside of your body as you're gonna get hit with a speed bump at some point, but why will you keep going? If you're doing it because somebody else laid out the path for you and that's what they told you should want, you will not find a natural source of energy in your body for you to be able to execute.
And that's one of the hardest parts about online business because there's too many people to compare to, right? I mean, we were even talking about this yesterday. I struggle sometimes. I joke about it, but the reality is I struggle sometimes with, why don't I get more Instagram engagement? Why don't I? And then yesterday, it's funny, we were talking and Lauren, who was here hanging out with us, was like, people DM me and they're like, Lauren, I feel like you're my best friend, And I was just like, something clicked in me. I was like, it makes so much sense why my business looks so much different than a lot of people, because I'm very heavy email based. I'm very heavy Facebook ads based. And I realized, I said, Lauren, I get it. I was never trying to be anybody's best friend online. That was never my goal. I had a feeling of what I wanted the world to feel like, and I went to deliver this feeling, but also I chose online because I could help more people in less time, not because I was looking for friendships. I legit, this is my friendships, I have people in person that I hang out with. But when I'm not on social media to be a creator, I'm gone. I am out of there.
Yeah.
So like, of course my engagement isn't going to look the same as someone who, like for you, I know Instagram is like a creator space. Like you like get in there and like,
Right. I'm a creative.
you love to be there. And for me, I'm like, well, I need to have a presence. And so I'm going to do my best to create something authentic of me to put on there. But the reality is all of the playful stuff that people want to engage with, that's not my authentic self on social media. Now in person it is.
Yep.
But that's not my feeling for business. My feeling for business is get shit done so you can clock out and go do the things.
But that's why the second E is all about energy, is where do you have your most natural sources of energy? And you're in email, and I don't do a whole lot in email.
Yeah.
Right. So now my question is, if I want to have a presence in email, how can I do this differently to where it will be an energizing experience? So I stop and ask myself, will this energize me or will it deplete me?
Yes.
And how can I get the same results differently in an energizing way? Because then you'll be able to work 10 hours straight if you wanted to, not because you have to.
Right.
But if you're in the flow, you don't fuck with that.
Right. It's like, just bring another coffee, please. Still there. Need more.
Yeah.
You might not love that, but for me, I'm like, keep the coffee coming. I'm in my flow.
And I'm thinking about your poor nervous system.
You are. As a good friend would.
Yeah.
Most good friends are worried about my nervous system as I take another drink.
I enjoy a cup of coffee, but I think if you're trying to overcome a lack of natural energy, coffee's not the way. Like if you have a natural reserve of energy and you want to if you want to amplify it with a little bit of coffee, there you go. But use it as an amplifier to your own energy, not to try to force yourself to do something that you fucking do not want to do.
Yeah. Agreed.
There's always another way. It's 2021. There's a million fucking strategies to make $1 million. What one do you want to use?
Well, for me, when I am needing it, I take a nap. Like if I'm like, dude, like I'm like not feeling it right now and I got this shit that I need to do, what I do is I set a like 15 or 20 minute timer on my phone and I just like cuddle up on my couch and pass out. And I tell myself, okay, when we wake up, it's go time. Like your body is telling you it's not ready to do this.
Yep.
That's okay. Like don't push through that and create shit. You know what I mean? Like
no way.
Tell yourself I'm going to take a nap and when I wake up, I'm going to be ready. And it's like my body gets it. It's like, something about that, like it almost like, because I am naturally more lazy. Like it's funny, like sports made me more disciplined. I'm disciplined for things I really want.
We always are. That's why I say I don't believe in discipline. I believe in desire.
Yeah, right. But just naturally, I'm a lazy person. So like if I tell myself, hey, you get to have a nap, my body's like, okay, because I really need one. Like I'm tired. And then I'm just like, don't worry, you can have a 20-minute nap.
Yeah.
And then when we wake up, we'll go to work. And that just kind of lets my body go like, oh, yay. Like I can be lazy. And I love that because I couldn't take a nap when I was detailing cars.
Most
it's just
people,
like you have to.
I bet you have a lot of women listening and there's a lot of moms who are like, must be nice to be able to take a nap, right? But a lot of women don't feel safe to pause. And that's what I experience coaching women is that number one, they're bred into a society that says hard work is the secret to success and you just have to hustle harder, which is all bullshit, right? There's a lot of billionaires who don't work that hard.
Correct.
So I think like it's so important to hear you say that you can be a 7-figure earner and that you also take naps.
I do.
I love hearing that.
them.
And I do too. If I need a nap, I'll fucking take a nap.
I also don't wake up early. I know you don't either. We are not early bird. Like me and Andrea would never, ever, ever do the Miracle Morning.
Hell no, I fucking hate that book.
If you're listening to this.
It works for the people who it works for, but that is not the secret.
Yeah. And again, just like we talked about earlier, ask yourself what was the principle of this? Like what was, and the principle of that book was wake up a little bit early and have intention. But for me, waking up a little bit early to have my intentions is 9 a.m. Like if I got a call at 11, I can't let myself sleep till 10:30 because then I will not get my morning routine. I honestly would love to sleep till 10:30. So I personally wake up at 9. I wake up an hour and a half before I have to be turned on, basically, so that I can spend time journaling, meditating, and working out. And occasionally if I have like an 8 o'clock call, I'm like, fuck it, I'll do it after my call. Like I'm not getting up at 6:30. My body won't perform. Like
I would
nothing is
never
alive.
do an 8 o'clock call. No, I don't do calls before noon.
Occasionally I do it for like a friend in the UK. That's like, it works out, but it's not even a paid call. It's like, for instance, Mario in our mastermind wanted to chat one time. And I was like, for you, bro, I'll get up at 8 a.m. But just know, you're not getting the best Josh. But if that's what you have to make it work on your time zone, we'll make that shit happen.
Okay, I have to give them the rest of the letters so they're not left.
Oh, I thought we got all of them.
No,
I'm sorry.
we only got to D.
And what's the word? Oh, you're right. 2 more letters.
I do not want people DMing me being like, what the fuck?
This is actually a trick to get you to DM Andrea. Her DMs are going to blow up.
Boost my engagement. I'll take it. No, DM me because you're like, yeah, this fucking shit makes sense. But please DM me and tell me how you use it because the stories are my life force energy.
Yeah.
If I were only to sell products and I never got to hear the experiences people had with them, I would get out of business.
That would be 100%. The worst. I agree. Okay, so O
is opportunity. This is how can I put myself into positions to align myself for strategic collaborations, to get PR, to get on other people's podcasts or get people on my podcast. So that's all about strategizing your way. Now, you've already learned fulfillment first, relationships, energy expression. So now at this point, you're existing in a way where you're making decisions wildly different than you were ever taught from the time that you were born up until this point. So now that you get to the point where you're positioning yourself for new opportunity, you're doing it in a way that's really authentic to your natural source of energy, really authentic to who you are as a human being, period, the more amplified version of yourself. And people are more magnetically pulled to you anyway. So opportunities aren't just easier to get, they're actually coming to you more often than they aren't. Which is amazing. And that's why I love that like O came so late in the game. And then the last one is of course money, but money's fucking last. And money feels so good. Like the feeling of wealth in your hand, not just earning it, but having it, learning how to invest into it. If you do that step by step sequentially with fulfillment first, life is a very different experience. And you will get that feeling that you desired in the first place, not just because you have money in your pocket, but because you fucking hacked the shit out of life.
I love that. I love that. So money is not the main goal. It's just a goal. It's just one of
Money's
the
a
goals.
byproduct.
Yeah.
It comes because you did all the other shit first. And isn't that like the fucking dream?
Yeah, because because when we were kids, I do think that there was a part of us that wanted to have the houses and cars that celebrities had, but I think in reality, like I wanted to be the next Michael Jordan because like I loved basketball.
I wanted to be Lisa Turtle from Saved by the Bell.
But like
DM me if you get that reference.
I have not watched the new ones yet. Have you?
No, I didn't even know there was a new one. I don't watch TV very often.
There's a new
anymore.
Saved by the Bell. Like a relaunch where like the original cast members
I'm gonna have to get all up in that.
And I think like people listening to this that have already watched the whole thing are like, no, that's not right at all. But I think that like they have kids and maybe like their kids are going to high school right now or something like that.
That would make sense.
Is that what happens? It's something like that.
I have no idea. This is new information as of 5 seconds ago.
It's only on Peacock, and no, we are not sponsored by Peacock. But Peacock is this new TV. I'm like, how many subscriptions are we gonna have to watch all the shows? Like now we're actually doubling the cost of cable.
What is Peacock?
So Peacock is a new TV channel.
It's like a new Netflix.
It's a new Netflix. It's free. Because there's advertisements just like live TV.
Got it.
So it's like watching live TV that you can watch anytime you want.
Fucking marketers.
Right? Like getting all of our money. Not all of our money. You're not getting all of our money. But more money than cable was by the time we pay for all these things. But also 1,000 more shows to watch that I can't watch TV and know what like it takes me like sometimes a month to figure out what show I want to watch.
Same.
Once I find that show, I'm good until, you know what I'm saying?
My daughter and I have given up and we're just watching Grey's Anatomy on repeat. So we've watched every single episode of like all 17 seasons 3 times now.
Wow.
It's fucking sick.
I could not do that with Grey's Anatomy. I could.
It's so good because you forget what happened somehow. I don't know how.
I could do that with Friends. Like I legit love.
We've done that.
I get it. It's like like super like everybody likes Friends right now, but like legit the second I didn't watch it growing up because I wasn't allowed. It was too like adult. And then someone had it when I worked at Fossil in the break room, all the VHSs, VHSs.
Oh man.
And I was just like, I don't got nothing to do, whatever, fuck it, I'll throw in Friends. And I just like laughed. I was just like, okay. And I could literally watch any episode in any of the seasons, any given time, and never complain, ever. It's funny. Man. It's funny.
The fact that you couldn't watch Friends because that was too... Dang.
Friends was too adult content. I wasn't allowed to watch. I was not allowed to like watch anything on TV other than the shit that came on at like 2 p.m.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it was
the
like,
Narnia series.
Like, well, it's a Christian author. That's probably okay,
it's
right?
Probably okay.
No, so we could
People
watch.
Are dying, but it's probably okay.
Right. The original Saved by the Bell. And now that I say it out loud, we were only allowed to watch it probably because my parents weren't home yet. So they didn't know what we were watching from 2 to 5. It's just that once 5 started, nothing on after 5 on TV was okay unless it was sports or a family movie.
I'm a little more well blended when it comes to my background because my mom had a very secular house and then my dad had a very more religious construct.
Yeah.
No skirts above the knees and
Yeah.
pray before you eat a sucker and purity rings and all the things. And I would go back to my mom's house and we would say fuck together. So
to this day, I swear, we were at a restaurant eating like last night probably. And to this day, before we eat, something in me starts to like look up and pray over the food. And I'm just like, still? Like, I still feel the need to pray even in public over every, and again, if you're listening to this and you do that, this is no offense
pray
towards
over
you.
my food too.
I'm not criticizing you. I'm just saying like, I personally haven't prayed over my food in several years, but because like it was so ingrained in me.
But let me tell you why you should, not because of traditional religious programming, but because your body, when it's in a state of gratitude, processes food differently.
Okay.
So when you're in appreciation, whatever you appreciate appreciates, right?
Yes.
So
I can dig that.
it's the same thing.
I can dig that.
It is the same thing for food.
And that's why I try very hard to laugh about my past, but also not judge or criticize people that might still do some of those things because at its foundation, it was all good.
Yeah.
The difference is we had like a very specific mealtime prayer that we like rattled off and had like
God is great. God is good. Let us thank you for the food.
Thank you, Father, for this food. Thank you that it's blessed by the word of God and our thanks in Jesus' name. Amen. And it was more like something we said so we could get over it.
Right.
So we could eat. Like it wasn't an actual...
Yeah.
It wasn't coming from any type of like purity of like we actually
not genuine appreciation.
We actually want to thank God for this food. Right. It was more of like, this is what we're supposed to do, so let's get it over with so we can eat.
Well, isn't that how people approach business too? This is what I'm supposed to do. Man, like, do you know how many people, starting my business in network marketing where people would come and say, and I was one of them in the beginning, I'm doing all the things that I was told to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they are. Systematically, robotically.
Yeah.
And then they're like, why am I not getting the results? And it's because your fucking heart's not in it.
Totally.
Nobody taught you how to do it in a way that was authentic to your energy.
Right. So you would love this, but I added to my groups this year to the tracker, which I know you hate tracker, and that's okay. That's not everybody's vibe.
I'm like,
we added to the tracker, instead of just being the business activities, it's now heart plus hustle plus harmony.
Yeah.
So every morning they wake up and they are supposed to like revisit their vision, revisit their mission statement, to like really get their heart engaged. Then you do the business activities, which we actually condensed and made less than it's ever been. Not because we want people to work less, but because we want to have more freedom to choose how they decide to do it. And then there's these harmony things that they have to do. So like every day they have to do breath work when they're done working. They have to write down things that they're proud of themselves for. They have to do one activity with their family. And then they have to do just some type of recharging activity, whether it's like going for a walk or a hike. Yeah, so like, look at me getting all feminine up in this shit.
Yes, what is happening,
Do you
Push
like that?
Coach? I am here for it.
This is what Gerard Adams did for me.
Yeah.
He like introduced me because that was what our tracker was like.
Wait, how is it that Gerard introduced this to you? Did I not speak at your event and at your mastermind like 3 years ago? And was my entire presentation not all about similar?
You are correct.
I just want to say that Gerard did not teach that shit to you.
Gerard Adams put me on a masculine tracker with feminine activities that opened me up to things you taught me. How about that?
Thank you.
Andrea.
I want some credit where it's due, motherfucker.
Getting real close to the mic to say, Andrea taught me everything I know.
That's not entirely true, but mostly.
I have on here, is this coming from love or fear?
Yeah.
I have on here, because that's one of the things. I put down 2 specific things that you taught me that I am so grateful for that I wanted you to share with my audience.
Okay, let's
So
do it.
I think we've now found out that Andrea's taught me a lot of things, but there's 2 specific things that Andrea taught me.
I am the Yoda of your life.
I really wanted to bring up these 2 things. So number 1, is this coming from love or fear is a question that you taught me to use, especially when I was struggling with kind of more like condemnation, guilt, and shame stuff from like my past. You taught me this question. So maybe like walk us through like what this question means.
Well, I think that what you were going through, I think leaving your ex-wife, but also sometimes when making decisions in business, and this is where I help people use this question the most, is how do I know when to pivot? How do I know when to invest? How do I know when to whatever? It's a tool, a very, very simple tool to make intuitive decisions based off of not what's right or wrong, but simply what's correct for you. And there is a very big difference.
Yeah.
So the question is that if I knew that by taking this action, I would get the exact results that I want, would I say yes or no?
Yeah.
And sometimes the answer is no. Sometimes
Correct.
the answer
Yeah.
is I don't actually really want that experience
Right,
if I'm
right.
being honest.
Yeah.
And most of the time the answer is yes, but it's fear. It's a
Right.
fear-based decision.
Right.
I'm afraid if I invest this money, then I won't have enough to pay my bills, or
Yeah.
that I won't
Yeah.
get the results that I'm looking for. So if you knew beyond a shadow of a doubt that you were going to get the results that you desired, would you say yes or no? And that's how you know if you're making a decision from love or fear. Once you've trained yourself to ask the longer-winded version of that question, you can simply ask, am I in love or fear right now?
Yeah.
And you'll know what that means to you.
Right.
But people do need context to know, like, well, how do I know what love and
Right.
what fear is for me?
Yeah, and just to throw this out there, because again, like I come from a background of like everything is based on the Bible. So I try
Right.
to like bring some things in for people with my background to help you see that like a lot of these things we're talking about are actually very biblically based. So
Totally.
like, you know, the Bible that I grew up learning said God is love.
Yep.
And in God, like everything is love. So like I love this question because I think that a lot of times God gets a bad rap for being like sitting up there like Santa Claus. Good or bad, good or bad,
Yeah.
good or bad, good or
Bad
bad.
boy, good girl,
Yeah, and
etc.
that's really more human than it is God. Like,
yeah, we made that shit up.
yeah, like
to control.
If God
Based
is
off of fear.
right, if God is love, then all of a sudden, like especially if you're like me and you have these like foundational things that your whole belief system was built around that sometimes can become a slave when they're misinterpreted, right? A question like this was so powerful for me because to think, is this God or is this love or fear is such a more powerful question than is it right or wrong? Because right or wrong goes back to my pre-programming.
Yeah.
Did my parents say that this was right or wrong?
Yeah,
right?
who said?
Did other people tell me right or wrong? Versus love or fear causes me to go inward,
Right.
where I believe God actually lives, like on the inside of me, to be like, okay, is this love or fear? And I remember on the phone one time specifically, you were like, Josh, I just really feel led by God right now to tell you that what you're telling me is how guilty you feel, how shameful you feel, and as a result, like you're considering going a different way. And I just want to tell you, and by the way, Andrea never gave me advice on any direction to take, but she was just like, I just feel the need to tell you, if you're feeling guilt and shame, that's not from God. Like God does not guilt and shame people. Like
No.
whatever
People
you're
made
feeling,
that up.
yeah, whatever you're feeling right now, don't try to take that as a right or wrong because that's just your feelings.
God does not need guilt or shame in order to lead.
Yes.
People do.
Somebody write that down. I can't take notes right now. Somebody write that down for me. Send it to me. Send that to me right now. God doesn't need guilt or shame
To lead people.
to lead people. Only people do.
Only people do.
I love that. I love it. Okay, so one more thing that I want to bring up before we wrap this up is the I am statements. You know, the event that we did together was called The Power of I Am, and was all about helping people to see the powers inside, not out here. So like, even though you're learning from Andrea today, even though you might learn from me, like, we aren't your power. Like,
No.
the source of your power comes inside. We're just guides. We're just like helping you find the inside that you have.
Exactly. So when I created Freak, the way that actually this business transpired was I woke up in the middle of the morning. And the first thought that came across my mind were the words, see it, speak it, know it, have it. I'd never heard those words said like that before in that format. And I wrote the words down, and that became the format and the foundation of the entire company. And that is our formula.
Yeah.
And that's how we teach manifestation. And I do want to, somebody asked me the other day, how do I approach manifestation if I am a Christian or if I want to honor my God?
Yeah.
And I said, because somebody had shamed her on social media, saying, again, God doesn't need shame. People do.
Yep.
Somebody shamed her on social media when she talked about the word manifestation and said that she was following false idols. And I said, manifestation isn't about following an external false idol. It's about aligning yourself to God's promises for you.
Wow.
It's about aligning your faith to God's promises for you, so that you put yourself into a place to receive it.
Right.
God won't give it to you if you say, God will not give you wealth if you say, I am broke.
Right.
It's universal law.
Yep.
God has gifted
Correct.
us with a tool called the quantum field, where your thoughts can send a signal out, and then your feelings draw the experience back to you.
Yeah.
So if your words and your feelings aren't congruent with each other, it's like the feeling will cancel the thought.
Right.
As soon as the thought is, okay, well, I am wealthy, but the feeling is fear, I am broke, I am broke, I am broke. That's why these exist.
Right.
To teach the body to cancel out that fear, to teach the
that.
body to be in
love that.
agreement with where the head and the heart are in agreement.
Right.
That's the only goal and purpose behind how we take people through experiences. So it's using step 2, which is the speak it part, and it's speaking it as if it were already your truth.
Yeah.
And that is aligning your faith to God's promises.
Which again is biblically based.
100%.
I mean, the church that I grew up in, we were very big into manifestation, but we didn't call it that. It's just a different word.
Yeah.
But the reality is we had these scriptures very specifically, like Mark 11:23, which is like, if you believe in your heart and do not doubt, you can speak to this mountain and it will be removed.
That's step 3, know it.
Yeah, that's a manifestation
speak
thing.
it, know it,
That's a
have it. Yep.
manifestation thing. And so like really anyone who believes in any version of faith is practicing manifestation every single day. You just might not have called it that, and you might not have had an intentional plan for how to actually do it.
Right. And so many people have been conditioned from a very, very early age to make decisions first from fear.
Right.
Based off of, I don't want to get in trouble, so I'm going to do this, instead of how can I seek this experience and align myself with God's promises for me, and look inward so I can have a direct relationship with God, instead of thinking that I need these people who are in positions of power or authority in order to access God, which is such a fucking crock of shit.
Yeah, and
that's
those,
where I get a little irritated.
And those people can be great. They can be wonderful.
Some of them, yes.
But again, just like me and Andrea, they're just guides.
They're just guides.
Like all of us are just guides.
They're a tool. They're a tool to support you coming back into yourself.
Yep.
And that's all these are. They're just tools, but you are the fucking power.
Totally.
And I say this all the time, like, you do not need our products to manifest. You're already manifesting every single day. The question is, are you manifesting what you really want? And if you're not, these tools can support that process for you. Or they won't, and it doesn't matter, and you can still get everything that you want. It's just a fucking tool, the same way that you're a tool for somebody as a coach.
Right.
Yep.
And so please remember this, whether it's business, whether it's spirituality, like regardless of what it is, a real guide will always teach you how to look inward.
Always.
Always. A real guide never tries to give you the answer.
They will always plug you back into yourself. Yeah.
Yes. So I love that. Andrea, this has been an amazing episode. We've gone so long that the sun is literally going
We're losing
down
sunlight. We got to
us,
go on our bike
and
ride.
I forgot to set up extra lights in here because we just had such incredible sunlight. So it's like, we're out of light. We got to wrap it up.
You guys are watching the sun go down.
Right? This has been such an amazing episode. I loved it so much. First of all, just thank you for inviting me into your house.
Yes.
Thank you for being a friend in my life. Thank you for everything that you mean to me. Just on a personal, like let's throw away business for a second. Thank you for just being an incredible personal friend in my life. I love you. I appreciate you so much.
What you really mean is thank you for bringing Jeremy in.
No, I didn't say that. I didn't even say that.
Felt it.
I didn't say that. I do love Jeremy.
I love him.
I do love Jeremy, but me and you actually talk more often. Jeremy is the person that pops in and goes off on
and makes you pee your pants laughing.
Crazy tangents and makes me laugh. But thank you for being here again. Instagram handle for everybody.
Love_Andrea Crowder at Freak Rituals if you want to follow Freak.
Perfect.
The page is aesthetic and bomb and sexy.
It's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. If you just go to Andrea, again, Andrea Crowder, it's love_Andrea Crowder, right?
Yep.
You can check out Freak. You can check out her 15-minute launch coach, which is a course that she created to help you to launch using some of the things that she talked about today. She's got a mastermind group. She got all kinds of amazing shit going down. So you just need to check it out. Again, Andrea, thank you for being on.
Thank you.